There is a moment in early summer, you know the one, when you step outside and the air smells like warm earth, crushed green leaves, and something quietly floral that you cannot quite name. That moment. Bottled. That is the closest I can get to describing what Terra di Gioia does in the first 30 seconds on skin. I sprayed this on a Tuesday morning before I had even had coffee. And I stood there, in my kitchen, genuinely just breathing my own wrist. That does not happen often. But here is what I need you to stay for, because there is something about this fragrance that I think almost everyone gets wrong. The name. Terra di Gioia. Joy of the earth. Most reviewers file this under fresh florals, spring wardrobe, done. I think that reading is completely off. And I will tell you exactly why by the end of this video. Stick with me. Giorgio Armani and fragrance, this is a relationship that goes back to 1982, and it is a house that has always understood one thing better than almost anyone else in the designer space: restraint. Armani fragrances do not scream. They do not beg for attention. They attract it. The Armani fragrance DNA has always leaned towards clean elegance. Think Acqua di Gioia, think Sai, think the original Armani code. These are not fragrances designed to be the loudest thing in the room. They are designed to make you the most interesting thing in the room. Terra di Gioia sits within the Gioia family, which began with Acqua di Gioia back in 2010. That was water, light, Mediterranean freshness. Terra, earth, is a deliberate evolution. A maturation. Armani essentially asked, what happens to joy when it grows up? When it gets its hands dirty? When it plants something and watches it come back? That context matters. Because Terra di Gioia is not trying to be youthful. It is trying to be grounded. And that is a very different ambition for a designer floral. Let me talk about this bottle because it earns its place on a shelf. The 50 ml bottle is rectangular, slightly curved at the edges. It fits in your hand like it belongs there. The glass has a slight green tint, which is subtle enough that you might not notice immediately, and then you hold it up to the light and there it is. A pale, earthy jade. It communicates exactly what the fragrance promises before you have even removed the cap. The cap is a matte finish, weighty for a designer piece, and it goes on with a satisfying click. Not flimsy. Not cheap. The label is clean, pure Armani. White text on that green-tinted glass. No noise. No clutter. Just the name and the house. Does it match the fragrance? Absolutely. This is a bottle that looks like it belongs on a stone bathroom shelf in a converted farmhouse in Tuscany. Which, as it turns out, is exactly the kind of imagery this fragrance conjures. Armani got the visual language right here. Okay. First spray. The projection is immediate but not aggressive. This is not a fragrance that announces itself across a room. It announces itself to the person standing next to you. There is a distinction there and it matters. The opening is green. Genuinely, vividly green, not the synthetic aquatic green of cheaper fragrances, but something more botanical. More alive. Think bruised stems. The kind of green that sticks to your fingers when you snap a branch off a houseplant. It is fresh but it has weight behind it. Within the first few minutes there is a brightness pushing through, a citrus-adjacent quality, clean and clear without being sharp. It does not bite. It just lifts the whole opening so that the greenness does not become heavy or somber. And then, just as you are settling into what feels like a fresh green opener, something warmer begins to surface underneath. You catch the edge of it like smoke from a fire 3 rooms away. That is the tease. The opening is honest about the brightness on top, but it immediately tells you there is more coming. The heart is where Terra di Gioia starts to reveal its actual character, and this is where I think most people misread this fragrance. About 20 to 30 minutes in, a floral quality emerges. And yes, there is something jasmine adjacent here, a white floral softness that gives the fragrance a feminine, tender quality. But it never goes fully in that direction. Because running underneath that floral layer is something earthy. Something almost mineral. like wet stone after rain, or the smell of the soil when you turn it over in a garden. This is the Terra. The earth in Terra di Gioia. And this is what makes this fragrance genuinely interesting as a composition. You have the green brightness of the opening transitioning into a white floral heart, but anchored by this mineral, slightly cool earthiness. It should not work. Florals and earth and green, that is a complicated balancing act. But it does work. Remarkably well. The heart phase lasts a good 60 to 90 minutes and it is, honestly, the most compelling part of the wear. This is when Sillage is at its most interesting. When you move and it follows you. If you were going to convert someone to this fragrance, you would spray it on them and make them smell the heart. Not the opening. Not the dry down. The heart. 3 hours in, the fragrance has settled into something warmer and quieter. The green freshness has faded. The floral is softer now, a memory rather than a presence. What remains is woody and slightly musky. The dry down on Terra di Gioia is what I would describe as intimate. This is a skin-close fragrance in its final stages. It is the scent equivalent of low lighting and a quiet room. There is a creaminess to it that I did not expect, a softness in the base that rounds off the earlier sharpness and gives the whole composition a satisfying conclusion. Is it a spectacular dry down? Not in the sense of a showstopper. But it is cohesive and warm and genuinely pleasant to live in for the rest of your day. The problem, if you can call it that, is the contrast with the heart. The heart is so alive and interesting that the dry down can feel like a slightly anticlimactic resolution. Like a film with a very good second act and a quiet ending. For most wearers, that will be perfectly fine. For fragrance enthusiasts who want drama across all 3 acts, temper your expectation slightly at the back end. Honest numbers. On skin, you are looking at 5 to 7 hours. At the lower end on drier or warmer skin, closer to 7 on normal skin in cooler conditions. On fabric, a jacket collar, a scarf, it extends further. I caught it on a shirt 12 hours later, still recognizable. Sillage is moderate. This is not a projection monster. In a meeting room or a small space, the people near you will notice. Walking down the street, you are not leaving a trail. I actually think that is appropriate for this fragrance. Heavy projection would feel wrong here. It would contradict the philosophy of the thing. Time of day, this fragrance peaks in performance in mild conditions. Morning application carries beautifully through to the afternoon. In high summer heat, the opening becomes almost too bright and the earthiness competes awkwardly with the heat. In autumn or spring, perfect conditions. Winter, the dry down is lovely and cozy but the green opening can feel slightly out of place. This is a transitional season's fragrance. Let me paint you a few pictures. If you are the type who keeps a small herb garden on a windowsill. Who owns things made of linen and wears them without ironing. Who finds more joy in a Saturday morning at a farmer's market than a Saturday night in a club. Terra di Gioia was made for you. It fits your whole personality. If you are building a fragrance wardrobe and you have the evening covered, the smoky, the dark, the theatrical, but you want something for the hours between 9 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon that makes you feel polished without feeling stiff. This is the gap filler you have been looking for. And the gender question. This is marketed for her, but I want to be direct, this wears beautifully on any skin. The earthiness. The mineral quality, the green opening, these are not gendered qualities. If you present masculinely and you lean towards quiet, natural, botanical fragrances rather than heavy woods or spice, try Terra di Gioia. It might surprise you. Who should not wear this? If you need your fragrance to project aggressively and command a room, look elsewhere. If you love gourmands, orientals, or anything edible and warm, this will feel cold and unfamiliar to you. If you want a linear, simple fragrance that does one thing start to finish, the complexity of the heart phase might frustrate you rather than delight you. £71 for 50 millilitres. That works out to £1.42 per milliliter. In the designer EDP space, that is fair. It is not exceptional value. It is fair. You are absolutely paying some of that for the Armani name and the packaging, let us be honest about that. The liquid itself is well constructed and the raw material quality sits at the upper end of the designer tier, but you are not in niche territory here in terms of ingredient transparency or exclusivity. For something that scratches a similar itch at lower cost, look at Zara Gardenia. I know, hear me out. It is not as nuanced, the longevity is shorter, and it lacks the earthiness of Terra di Gioia's heart, but as a green floral in the same postcode, for a fraction of the price, it is worth trying if budget is the primary concern. My score for Terra di Gioia is 7.5 out of 10. It earns that because the composition is genuinely original, that earth and floral combination is not easy to execute and they executed it well. Half a point off for a dry down that does not quite live up to the brilliance of the heart phase. And half a point off because £71 is a real commitment for a fragrance that some people will find too quiet to justify it. You can buy the 50ml EDP directly from p-11.com, I will drop the link in the description below. They are a solid UK stockist with good prices, so worth checking before you buy from anywhere else. Terra di Gioia is a fragrance with genuine soul, it is earthy where others are merely fresh, and grounded where others are simply pretty. It is not for everyone, and it does not try to be, which is exactly why the people it is for will love it deeply. Now, I made a promise at the start of this video. The thing everyone gets wrong. Terra di Gioia is not a spring fragrance. It is an autumn fragrance wearing spring colors. The earthiness, the mineral dryness, the muted florals, these are autumn qualities dressed in green. Wear it in September and October and you will understand what I mean completely. I want to ask you something specific. If you own this one, did the dry down justify the £71 price tag for you, or did you find something that gets you that green earthy quality at half the cost? Tell me in the comments. I read everything. If honest, no hype fragrance reviews are what you are after. Subscribe, I post every week and I will not waste your time.